Hi, I'm Peter Rose, founder of Longwood Currency Trading. There's two aspects of understanding price action and the Forex market. One of them is the when component, which I'll discuss today. The other is order flow, which I've discussed previously, and I may do another video on that because of its critical nature. I was thinking of titling the video, The When of Forex Price Action, but nobody would know what that is. In solving any problem, you have to know what's the problem, what's the tool that I have that I'm going to solve the problem, how do I use that tool, and when do I use the tool? What, how, and when. If you don't have those three pieces, then you're not going to be able to solve a problem. The example that I give for the importance of the when component is planting a garden. You have to know what a shovel is and what the seeds are and what the ground is and all that stuff. Then you need to know how to use the shovel, for example. But if you don't know when to plant the garden and you plant it in the winter, it's not going to have very much success. So the when component becomes more important than the what and the how. And I've discussed that a lot in my videos, over 600 of them now. This is 2026. And when I talk with people, I guess they don't believe me about the when component and how important that is. Any dumbass can teach you what to do and how to do it. But if they don't understand or can't convey to you when, then it's going to be like that garden. It's going to be not just a failure, it's going to be a massive failure, catastrophic. That's why I think the educational process that we're seeing out there in the Forex market is not, or hasn't been satisfying for all the folks that have done the education, because the statistics have been 15 years ago and are the same today, that 90% of the traders lose 90% of their money in 90 days. And why is that? Are 90% of the people that get involved in Forex trading stupid? No, I don't think so. You're not stupid, but you still are not doing in your Forex trading, getting the results that you feel that you need to have. And I'm specifically addressing a different category than most people. If you're a hobby trader, you're not going to find much interest in my channel. I'm trying to do consulting for people that are employed. 90% of the people, 99% of the people are employed. I'm just lucky. I'm unemployed. I'm retired. So they're looking for a method to ultimately replace their job income so they can retire and continue on with Social Security and whatever, and have, if not their full job income, at least a significant portion of that job income to affect their everyday life. If you're making the average $63,000 a year in the United States and you can make $3,000 a year, that's significant against that. Because if you take that same $3,000 from your trading and then you apply that to your Social Security and your 401k distribution and your savings and stuff, it's a huge benefit. It just is a matter of how you're viewing your Forex education. So I work with the folks that are interested in producing an income stream that's equal to or greater than their yearly job income, but in a more practical sense, at least significant replacement of that job income. Again, the $63,000, you make $3,000 or $6,000 against that. That's significant. What percentage return against the bank and all that stuff, those are trading issues. They're not goal issues. So when we're looking at the goal of making that much money, if you're a hobby trader, you take your $500 and run it to a couple of thousand, take the $2,000, run it to $8,000, and you lose everything and you start over again. That's not how you grow wealth. I'm not suggesting that trading Forex is an investment. You are trading, you are speculating. That's what makes it fun. But it also gives you more control than if you were to hand your money over to a fund manager or do just a mutual fund or something like that, where somebody else is making your decisions for you. In the 2008 financial crisis, the Standard & Poor's index went down 69%. So, look at all the people whose 401ks and mutual funds and index funds and all that stuff just went and they just evaporated. because you have no control. And by the time you recognize that the drop was great enough, you couldn't get out, and that drop didn't take long to happen either. So you didn't have time to get out. Trading Forex with its liquidity gives you time to get out, and it gets you out immediately, as opposed to any other investment vehicle. I was in real estate for 40 years. I lost $1 million net worth twice due to economic collapse. I made the $1 million back each time, but it took me 10 years to do that each time. So in the last time around, I took my over $1 million off the table. I sold off all my real estate. And I'm also not involved in the S&P or the DAX or the stocks market or anything like that. I sold all that stuff, and I'm in T-bills and T-bonds for that static money. And then I trade Forex, because I don't think you can find an investment vehicle to build wealth or whatever on a trading side that beats it just beats everything else. You want to fix up old cars and sell them, and if you could do 6 or 8 of them a year, you wouldn't have time to work your job. So where do you get the skill in the background to quit your job and then do that work and sell cars and make money? You don't. It's very hard to do that type of thing. Whereas in Forex, I've got a 6-week program, a fast-track program, that gives you all the information that you need, the skills, in order to do that, to significantly replace the income of your job. Not that you will be able to do it. You might not have a large enough bank to do that. But from a percentage standpoint, against the risk that you're putting up, it becomes better than the percentage gains that you would get, for example, in real estate. And again, I know that as a fact because I did real estate for 40 years. So I know a little something about gains and risk. And real estate is way up there on the risk spectrum. So if you're not making from your Forex trading 20 or 30%, then you shouldn't be trading Forex. You should do real estate where you can make 20 or 30%, 20% there. But that's high risk. You want to make safer returns in real estate, then you drop to the stock market. That's 12%. You drop them from down there then to like an index fund, and you get 8% a year against that. You want T-bills, you get 3.5% or 3.8% right now on maybe a 5-year T-bill. Well, I can make 5% on a Forex account in a month. You have to look at the expertise that you have, how long it takes you to develop the expertise in order to develop the returns, and what's the return that you can expect to get from that. Well, the fast track makes the assumption that you're working for a living and you don't have 8 hours a day to trade. So you trade 1 to 2 hours a day. And if you're not trading, you're doing screen time during that period. You don't get a mulligan and a pass. 1 to 2 hours a day, and over the course of the year of trading, let's say you only trade 100 days. You could trade 100 days with the skills that are displayed in the fast track course and still have a significant replacement of your job income. How can I say that? I've got the math behind it to prove it, and I've got the rules that you'll see immediately follows along the practical application of that in real time. So we know that Forex is a good market, or you wouldn't be watching this video. Forex can provide you job replacement income, or at least significant income against that job, so it's worth doing. So what is it? How do you trade the Forex market? Well, that's what this channel is all about. How do you go about doing that? Will that ultimately help you to change the way that you trade? I hope so. I hope it does. If you're good at what you're doing, but you're just doing it in the wrong order, I can probably help you with that in an email or maybe a short video conference. I'm willing to do that for free. But if you have a process problem, one of those process problems is the when component of making a trade. Well, then you need to think about taking a course, because you need more than the answer to a question. So many people contact me by email and they ask me this question and they think that that's the magic answer that's going to solve all their problems. And it would be if you really understood all the information around it, but you don't. And so I answer that question, and what happens? I get another question and I answer that, and I get another question and I answer that, and I go, whoa, wait a minute. What's your question? all we're doing is shooting in the dark here. What is your question? And unfortunately, when the person says, well, I thought I was asking you the question. I said, well, you're asking the right question, but you're not asking it at the right time or with the right background behind you to understand the answer. So we need to talk about process. And the when component of the what, how, and when is a process question. I can only inform you as to the importance of that because I can't teach it to you in a book and I can't teach it to you in a video because I don't know you. I have to know who I'm talking with. What's your education? What's your background? You play poker, go, chess, backgammon? Do you understand a strategy? Do you have any accounting behind you that you understand risk to reward and return against risk and the metrics of trading Forex? Do you understand bookkeeping so that you organize your Forex trading as a business and not just something you throw shit against the wall and hope the trade works out the best for you? It's just all of those things that I just mentioned have a when component to it. You can't drive your car unless you know the when component. When you've opened the door, when you've got in the car, when you've put the key into the ignition and turned it, then you're ready to drive the car. But you can't turn the key until you get into the car. And so that's the significance of that when component. So each problem that you're going to look at solving has a when component. And in the Forex market, we got a huge problem. It's called the Forex market. It's too complex to solve. So in my life cycle of a currency position, I break that down into the 3 phases of entry analysis, position management, and exit methodology. Each one of those are phases, and they're in sequential order, just like getting into a car and driving it. You have to have an entry analysis first before you can exit the trade. You have to have an entry analysis before you have position management. You got to have position management before you can exit the trade. You can't exit something that you don't have a position. Okay, so that simplifies that. But each one of those phases is a problem. And in the fast track, I teach one rule to solve that problem. If there were 2 rules necessary, I'd need 2 problems because each problem should only have one rule. Most folks don't understand that. I spent 33 years as a senior software engineer designing complex business applications, enterprise level. And if you didn't understand that and other concepts that I present in fast track, then you're going to get that. You're going to get it all wrong. You're going to get that one component wrong. So when we're looking at the problem solution, things have to be in sequential order, and each problem represents a one rule solution. And how do you build a rule? You build a rule based on conditions, and the conditions end up answering that when component. So if this is true and this is true and this is true and this is true, then you take the trade. Anybody could teach you that. When the long MA crosses the short MA, or the short MA crosses the long MA. Sorry, it's so stupid I don't even remember it sometimes. But it doesn't work. But that's a system that a lot of people tout. Engulfing candle patterns, doji candles, London Open, Bollinger Bands. Those are all systems. But they're all based on past information. You can't trade based on past information. I can't cross the railroad tracks with my car on past information. I have to know whether the train's coming right now. I mean, this stuff is just so simple. But everybody makes it so complex, and that's why 90% lose their money. Or at least, you gotta re-up the account in order to meet your margin requirement. And I think primarily that's because you don't understand that when component of price action. When do I actually execute the trade? Okay. Now, that is based on the more critical aspect of price action, which is order flow. But look, if you don't understand the when component, you can understand order flow all the fuck you want. People talk about order flow on these videos and in their courses, but they don't know what they're talking about for order flow. And they don't understand it. Yeah, they made $1 million, but they don't understand order flow. They're trying to do candle patterns and supply resistance and all that other shit because they stumbled their way through the minefield and they got their $1 million, and now they're going to turn around and teach you, follow me, I stumbled through this minefield. It's no wonder so many people fail, because if you can't identify specifically each step in the process, and everybody goes, yeah, I understand that. I understand that that's an important part. I understand I got to get in the car before I can drive it. That's the most important thing I got to learn first, is how to get into the car. Because if I don't understand that, then I can understand how to drive the car all I want. But if I get in the car the wrong way, if I break the window and I'm hanging through the window, I'm not going to be able to drive the car very efficiently. And that's what's happening in the educational market that's out there. And I solve that in the Fast Track course. But the Fast Track course is not geared for you if you're a hobby trader or you're only looking to make a couple of $1,000 a year. It's too expensive, and it's 6 weeks of oh my God, work in order to spend the rest of your life being able to get a 30% or 50% return against your risk, because you took the time to understand how the system works. Yes, the major issue is order flow, but if you don't understand then you won't understand the significance of the order flow pieces and conditions that need to be considered there in order to understand order flow. Order flow is irrelevant unless you're going to do something with it. The river running down the stream is irrelevant unless you're going to do something with it. Oh, I want to build a dam so I can run my power plant. Oh, great. Well, now we got to know how strong that river's got to be in order to run that power plant, right? I mean, we just look at the nature around us to figure out what we have to do as human beings. I've been involved in the martial arts for 58 years now, 57 years, I don't know. I've been saying 57 or 58 years for a couple of years. I must be there by now. And I actively taught it for 55 years. How do you protect yourself in the street against people that are out to do you harm? There's rules for that, and they're proven each time we go through, each class we go through. This is how you punch, right? You punch hard. Now you can punch harder than that by following these basic physical rules. You start out punching this way, and then you punch hard. When you're trading, you need to do the same thing. All these idiots that are out there that teaching you how to compound and reverse stage and all that shit, yeah, it works on small accounts. It doesn't work when you're trading a large account. I've traded multi-six-figure size accounts. I know what is necessary in order to trade, and you don't learn that trading a fucking $500 account. You just don't. You can take that $500, you can double it 3 or 4 times, and eventually you're using those same rules, you're going to lose it. Are there people that can do that? Sure, there's people that can take $1,000 or whatever and run that to $1 million. God love them. You know, Frank Lloyd Wright, God love him. You're not going to be Frank Lloyd Wright as an architect. There's one Frank Lloyd Wright. There's one George Washington. There's one Madame Curie. And the rest of us, we have to deal with the capabilities that we have. So if you're trying to mimic some asshole that made $1 million in their trading, but they ran through the minefield in order to learn how to do that, they're not going to be able to teach it to you. So you need to find somebody who's an educator and isn't teaching you stupid shit like Bollinger Bands and Fibonacci's and systems. And they understand that, yes, order flow is important, and everybody tries to teach order flow. You can get the bank traders coming out trying to teach you order flow, but that's meaningless. A bank trader is the worst person you want to learn how to trade retail FOREX from. It really is. But I digress. But it all supports my position that the most important thing that you need to understand about price action is the when component. When do you do things within that price action envelope? If you can figure that out, you're going to be way ahead of the game, because then you'll be able to look at order flow and go, oh, but when do I need this? And when you understand when you need it, oh, I need it When the power plant goes online, then you know, oh, I don't have a river strong enough to do that. So I got to wait until it rains a little harder, and then the power plant will work. Well, is that going to happen enough to run the size of the power plant that I want? Yeah, it is. Oh, okay. Well, then you build the power plant and you phase in that river strength. We do the same thing when we're learning how to trade, guys. We have to build a trading plan that suits our personalities, our educational background, and more importantly, our age. I tend not to work with the 20-year-olds because you guys don't have any responsibilities. I need to work with people that own a home or at least rent an apartment and are responsible for their own light bills and doing the laundry and they're going to the job and showing up on time and doing a good enough work that they don't get fired every 6 months. Send me an email and let's talk about this stuff. Let's get a conversation going. Let me talk to you about the when component because this is the most important thing that you need to understand. And it will also tell you whether you should be a Forex trader. Maybe this isn't really what you should be doing. Maybe there's a better thing for you to do. I think Forex is the best vehicle that anybody can get into for retail wealth building and income replacement. But you have to know the rules of the game. If you don't know how the rules of the game, you'll be one of the 90%. You're going to lose all your money and it's going to be tears and whining. Nobody cares. Nobody cares. Nobody needs a crier. Nobody listens to a crybaby. That was a quote out of the Wall Street Money Never Sleeps movie, if you saw that. Nobody cares about a crybaby. Send me an email. Let's get a conversation going so I can talk with you a little bit more about this when component and how that might directly be able to help you with no charge from me in your own trading to get it squared away. I'm not going to sell you anything. I don't want to sell you anything because then you're just going to bitch at me. If you want to buy something from me, great, I'll sell it to you. If you don't want to buy anything from me, I'm not going to try to sell it to you. You can believe it or not, whatever. Send me that email. Let's at least get a conversation going. Peter Rose, Longwood Currency Trading. Have a great day and have a great trading day.